don't eat out of a box because things that are packaged in boxes, anything in the middle of the store, if you can't pronounce it, don't eat it. That's kind of, my thing lately.
Tammy, how did you find carnivore?
Well, it's a really long, drawn out story. Um, I have tried a lot of different diets. Um, I have been on calorie restriction diets. Back years ago, the Slim Fast craze was around where you just drink these shakes to try to lose weight. I have 4 children, so after each child, I had extra weight to get rid of. So trying to follow the diet suggestions of those times was difficult because mainly it was restricting how much you could eat, low fat, and then they always push just move more, eat less, and then the weight will come off. It was kind of difficult. So through nursing school, I ended up gaining a good amount of weight. I am a registered nurse. I've been a nurse for 26 years. I still currently work right now, and I'm on my third marriage. So my husband now actually has cancer, and we have tried to augment his treatments with diet changes, with suggestions from my research that I was doing. I actually worked in oncology for 10 years. Talking with different patients, you kind of see their ideas of diet, exercise, things that they were doing. So we investigated juicing. I've been through that route. We went vegan for 3 years. Then his nephew actually is a bodybuilder, and he was suggesting doing a carnivore diet. So we did that for I think it was about 3 months. And my husband has a type of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma that's called Waldenstrom's. So his cancer affects his IgM immunoglobulins. It makes them extremely high, where it causes his blood to be viscous and very thick. So the higher your numbers, the thicker your blood. So we didn't know. A few people he had talked to online were actually helping their disease by eating a vegan diet and taking all these herbal supplements. So that's why we had tried the vegan for 3 years. Um, and then I had actually started to garden at that time because you can't really trust your vegetables in town. And they don't, I mean, honestly, they don't taste good if you buy them from the store. There's so much difference in the tomato that you pick off a vine in your yard than one you buy at the grocery. So to eliminate the risk of the contamination to our vegetables, I started growing everything. It took me about 3 years to uh, perfect things. I'm not perfect in it all, but I don't spray anything. So we do, some of my stuff's not so cute, but I do have to say was pretty proud of the fact that I could grow almost all of our vegetables. We bought very little. Um, Unless I had something that was failed, and then we were ordering vegetables from a co-op called Azure Standard, which you can get meat products, and you can get vegetables, everything in bulk. So, and it's delivered to your town. Well, then we had talked to his nephew. He said, try the carnivore. It was kind of more keto than actual true carnivore. But then after about 3 months, he decided that he really wanted those carbs back. He loves pasta. He loves rice, bread. I was making homemade breads, doing sourdough. I was making everything from scratch because I was not wanting to buy chemicals from the store and boxed stuff. Well, then he started eating the carbs again. So we went back to a regular it's a sad diet, the standard American diet, eating the carbohydrates and everything. Well, then probably a year and a half ago, I started having abdominal issues, lots of pain, cramping. And I don't have a gallbladder. That was removed after I had my first son because I had gallstones. So I would have some stomach distress after I eat fatty meals. Sometimes I'd have to run to the bathroom. um, and that told me that's just something I was going to have to live with. But this was really severe. This was the pain that I was experiencing it put me in the bed. Like I couldn't get up. It hurt so bad. I actually was hospitalized once with colitis for about 4 days. It was so bad. And I had had a colonoscopy where they go check your bowel, and they said everything looked good, fine. No Crohn's, no irritable bowel. It was just, I had just had, they don't know, it was just a inflammation. So I'm thinking in my mind, something has got to be triggering this stuff. Um, so then we revisited the carnivore thing again. His nephew had mentioned it again. So I started researching more. I researched, and when you go through your nursing university, you take a diet class, a nutrition class, but basically they just teach you the food guide pyramid. It's not really what these things are doing to your body chemically. It's like, hey, you need this many carbohydrates, this much fat, this much protein to keep you from losing muscle or mass and stuff like that. So it's not detailed like you can find on your own. So you would have to go out and educate yourself on your own versus what you get in nursing. So it was just one class out of the 4 years. When I'm reading eat fat, eat meat, don't eat fruit and vegetables, it really kind of, I was hesitant
Mm.
because you do get a lot of backlash from your peers and, doctors and other nurses. So when we decided that this is what we were going to do, I really didn't say much to anybody. And then I told my parents, hey, we're eating like this. We're not eating carbs. We're not eating fruit. We're not eating vegetables. They're like, what do you mean? You're going to have a heart attack. Your dad's had a heart attack. Your grandpa had a heart attack. You're going to have high cholesterol. I said, well, you're not telling me anything. I'm obese. Now, I have lost a lot of weight this year. We've been doing, my year anniversary will be this Friday coming up,
Oh, wow.
eating meat based. So I've lost 70 pounds this year. And I told my parents, I said, you guys didn't say anything to me about killing myself when I was overweight, eating sugar, eating cake, eating cookies, eating all this unhealthy stuff, being pre diabetic. That's okay. But heaven forbid if you just eat meat, your cholesterol is going to get high and it's going to kill you. I said, well, I don't know. I mean, I'm terrible the way I am right now. It can't get any worse. It can only get better. So my husband started the diet with me. I started the diet. Now, he doesn't stick to it. Okay. So he sometimes doesn't, sometimes not. Like he'll go eat lunch with his siblings and he'll have pasta. He'll eat rice here. He'll have a sandwich every now and then. So he's not even really keto. I guess I would call him a sometimes carnivore. Now, I, on the other hand, was extremely strict in the beginning. I said, look, we're going to, and I did whatever he did because I'm supporting him 100%. We did the vegetable thing and now we're doing the meat thing. So I totally did a total turnaround and I'm just eating meat. Well, then I noticed I was getting better. I thought at 49, I'm coming up on 50. I'm just kind of like a car and I'm kind of wore out. You get 50,000 miles maintenance. Um, my joints hurt. I had my skin looked terrible. I was swollen. I was overweight. Um, I was eating a terrible diet. So within a couple weeks, I started having really major changes. I had really bad I thought it was environmental allergies. I live in Louisiana. I'm way down south. It's hot, humid, and we have pollen. Like you can watch the pine trees and it's like yellow snow that just floats in the air. And I would have to take Flonase, which is a nasal spray for allergies, Allegra, Claritin, Benadryl. I was always having itchy eyes, runny nose, itchy ears, this little nagging little clear my throat cough from nasal drip. I was experiencing sinus infections a couple times a year. Well, I realized after about 2 weeks of just doing the meat, and I was really strict in the beginning, that was gone. I realized I'm like, hey, I don't have a stuffy nose when I wake up. I don't have itchy eyes. And it's snow and yellow outside. Something's weird, this is weird. So then I was having the weight loss. Then I noticed going in probably about a month, I was experiencing less pain. I would hurt so bad when I'd get up. My elbows hurt, my wrists hurt, my back hurt. hips, knees popping audibly. You can hear it across the room, pop, pop, pop. That's gone. I don't have that anymore. Sometimes I have back aches. I'm going to contribute that to lifting on patients for 26 years. I do have arthritis. Um, I think that it has helped with inflammation totally because I just don't have to take the ibuprofen anymore. I don't have to take Tylenol anymore. Um, so it was getting to the point where I was going to have to ask for a prescription anti-inflammatory, and I was going to have to start taking that. But thank goodness this came along and it changed the way I feel when I wake up. Um, so the diet really hasn't had an effect on my husband's cancer, per se, his lab values, which I really don't know. He's kind of stayed about the same. He hasn't improved, but he hasn't gotten worse either. And I've just gotten better. Probably about 3 months into this, I didn't realize I had a gluten intolerance until we had a family reunion. And I said, hey, I can have a cheat day. you know, I'm going to have a cheat day and I'm going to eat all of these foods from South America. That's where my husband's from. And it's just a cheat day because it's just carbohydrates. I'll get right back on the wagon Sunday or Monday, whatever day it was. So I sat down with my plate of carb overload. About halfway through it, I started having itching eyes, itching ears. My scalp was itching. I was like, oh my gosh, what is wrong with me? It's like I've ate all this stuff before. I know there's nothing I'm allergic to. That evening, I stopped eating everything. That evening, I went home. I ended up retaining 13 pounds of fluid overnight. I woke up, my joints, I couldn't even open and close my hands hardly. And I've noticed now that's what my body does when I eat something my body doesn't agree with. Like with gluten, especially, it does that to me. I swell up, my face gets all inflamed, redness, the joint pain is bad, and the fluid retention is terrible. So then I said, no more gluten for me, no more cheat days. And I don't know if people are really aware of what goes on in a hospital as far as in a nursing station, but we tend to be very unhealthy. A lot of people tend to bring us snacks and treats. It's candies, cookies. During Mardi Gras, it's king cakes every day, donuts, just all kinds of sweets. That has taken a lot for me to just say no to until I had the reaction with the gluten. And I realized this was so bad. I am not putting that stuff in my mouth again. I can look at a donut and be like, I used to go to donuts every Sunday morning for my family. And as bad as it made me, I'm just not even going there. I'm like, nope, not doing it. So it has given me, I don't know what word you would put to it. I have the willpower to say no to the pastries and cookies and cakes and stuff because honestly, I really can't have that because it's going to make me feel so bad physically. Now I was really strict. I want to say 6 to 9 months. And then, like I said, I heavily garden. Okay. I enjoy gardening. It gets me outside. I exercise, gets me in the dirt. I feel good about being outside in the plants. I just find it fascinating that these plants can make all these things and that whether I eat them or not, I wasn't eating them. I was growing them and putting them in the freezer. And my husband was eating them. And he'll make himself his vegetables and I'll eat meat and he'll eat meat and a vegetable. So then as spring came along, I said, maybe I should see if I can tolerate any of these things. What do they do to my body? Um, so I started trying my vegetables as they came in season. Like when my green beans were ready to pick, I tried them once and said, okay, well, that didn't make anything happen. So let's wait a week or two. We'll try something different. So it's not like I eat these vegetables once a week, twice a week, or whatever. I've been basically trying everything that I would harvest. So I found out I really can't have cucumbers. Cucumbers makes me do the same thing. I have joint pain. Um, I'm okay with berries. It seems like fruit is okay. I think the vegetables more are trigger for me. Especially like berries are okay. Like I can have a couple strawberries. I can have, I have mulberries, blackberries. I have all the fruit trees outside. But it's not something I eat every single day. I might have a fruit once a week, and I'm talking very little bit, maybe a two or three pieces of fruit. So I think at this point, I kind of more like not strict, maybe like what I think Nisha from Dr. Barry's wife is a nurse, and she calls it like a ketovore.
Carnivore, yeah.
Yeah, I do use spices in my food. Um, sometimes I'll just do salt and meat and beef. I'll do that during my work week, usually for my 6 days on. I'll just eat beef and salt, water. And then mostly when I'm home, it gets a little more varied with like I'll do a ground meat, saute ground meat, and I'll put onions in it. But it's onions we've grown, our own. So I'm not having any contamination with any type of pesticides or anything. I mean, I feel lucky
Okay.
that I do that. I honestly, people don't know how I do that because I only have an acre and a half of property, and I harvest pretty much all of our food from that. I've gotten pretty good at shoving stuff in corners and things and grow.
So, how many times a day are you eating?
I just eat when I'm hungry. So, and it seems to have worked for me this year. I'm not strict on times because I work nights. So, working nights throws your body completely off of any kind of clock routine that you would have. So, when I'm home, I'll wake up in the morning and usually I'll have, say, I have a bad habit of coffee. It's been one of the things on my list to try to eliminate. And it's hard. It's an addiction like the sugar. Sugar's my major ditch goblin. I call it my ditch goblin. Coffee would be number two. I haven't been able to get rid of that yet. So I'll have a cup of coffee and then I'll have a breakfast. And usually it's either some meat that I had left over from the night before with eggs, like it'll be steak, ground meat, eggs, bacon, sausage. And then I'm usually not hungry again until probably around 2 or 3 in the afternoon. And I might get a little snack. Um, if we've been working outside, I might do chicken wings or a hamburger patty or something like that. And then nighttime, it's usually beef, some form of red meat, whether it's we eat a lot of ground beef, and then we eat, the steaks with the ribeye, T-bones. And honestly, the meat is what is getting kind of expensive around here lately. Like to do just ribeyes, they can be sometimes $20 a pound. Um, I can sometimes buy the whole roll of ribeye and get it sliced for cheaper. We've done that. And then I was watching on YouTube some people that do the chuck roast when they sous vide it. So that is my main go-to, especially during my work week. I'll eat like 3 chuck roasts during my 6 days of work. I drop chuck roast in every other day, like every 2 days, and it's actually very, very good. It's like eating a ribeye. So I've been satisfied with that. And that's been a little more that's less costly. So I just eat when
Right.
I'm hungry. Yeah. But I find that eating more beef, it satiates me longer than if I was to have chicken or pork or turkey, something like that. Now, it's really odd. I don't know if it's odd or if this is a thing that people normally have happen to them. I don't crave the chicken and the pork, like pork chops and turkey meat. It's not something that I find very satisfying. I'll eat it, because it's just varied meats. But what I really like is the beef. That satisfies me.
Yeah, I hear a lot of people say similar things about chicken, and yeah, I can imagine myself if I was walking past a cooked chicken or cooked turkey, it wouldn't phase me at all. It'd be like walking past donuts at this stage. Um, so on that, when you go to work, and you're turning down the donuts or you're turning down the candy, like what kind of reactions do you get?
Well, they're pretty used to me now. Like normally it would be like somebody would be ordering a takeout also. Pizza's a big thing. The tacos, like Mexican food, Chinese food. We have Chinese restaurants around where I work. And I'm like, nope, I have my steak. Nope, I have my beef. And then so now they're like, we're not going to ask you because we know you have your steak. So they pretty much know that I'm mainly meat. And then I occasionally do try my vegetables and stuff. So,
Has anyone expressed interest in trying it out?
a couple people. A lot of what I get is I can't do that. Um, and I look at that comment a lot like, well, you haven't had a real reason, like you haven't been pushed to do it. You know, like for me, it was a health reason. Like my gut was just tore up. I was felt terrible. Um, so that was my why, my push to I want to be healthier. You know, I have to be healthier. How am I going to help my husband if I'm going down this spiral of unhealthiness and end up with a heart attack or whatever? Their I guess their why is not there yet. And then two, where I'm at, a lot of food is very cultural. We have a lot of Cajun dishes and ways of eating, and a lot of things are almost ritualistic. You know, like on Mondays, everybody has red beans and rice. And how dare you say don't eat red beans and rice? You know, like what do you mean you're not having a biscuit this morning? And biscuits and gravy, or okra and tomatoes with biscuits, or cornbread, and it has I've had some resistance from some people like that, like, oh, I can never do that. I can never give this up. I could never do that. But I've come to realize that sugar and carbs are an addiction, and it's a terrible addiction. I'm not sure that I would put it up there with actual illegal drugs. I don't know. Never done drugs before, but I would imagine it's probably up there because I do fight with that still. Because I mean, I could, even though apples don't hurt me, I mean, I could probably eat three or four of them if I wanted to, because I have no control when it comes to starting to eat carbs. Really, that's my problem. I'm not someone who could do it in moderation. I'm an abstainer. I found that out. I have to abstain from it. If I don't, then I will overeat it. That's why I don't think that I could ever go to eating vegetables a few times a week. Like I know some people do that, they're more meat based, but they do add vegetables. I don't think I could do that for myself. I think it would be too much of a temptation for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, you know, and then a lot of people are concerned, especially in the medical field, about my cholesterol levels. They're like, oh, you're going to have heart disease. You're going to have high cholesterol. I did write a few things down. So before I started this, I went ahead and got lab work done. I had lab work done, all the labs that was suggested to get checked. And my LDL, I know they like to focus on that number, that one test specifically, and that's what they want to treat you for. It was like 121 when I started last year. And I just recently had my labs done, and my LDL is like 152. So I don't think that's that bad of an increase, especially since my triglycerides now have been the lowest they have ever been at like 50. And my HDL, which is considered your good cholesterol, is the highest it's ever been. And I look at people sometimes and I'm like, okay, medical people, explain that to me. Explain this to me when I'm doing everything they tell you not to do. And these things are getting better. Nobody can.
The funny thing is, every every factor gets better when you're eating this way. Um, and let's assume for the moment that LDL is the bad one, the bogeyman, right? That's the only number that increases that, traditionally we think of as, oh, it's bad. And that's all the medical profession focuses on. They don't focus on the nuance of, let's look at the big picture and let's look at everything else that's improved about you. We've heard LDL is bad, so we're just going to focus on that one number. It seems
Right. Um,
odd to me.
I know. Yeah, it is odd. We do some odd things. You know, and talking about being a diabetic. I actually had looked at, I forgot which equation it was off the top of my head, but you can take your numbers and figure out if you have insulin resistance or not. And I never have. I've looked back several, because I always go to my doctor every year and get a physical, get my labs done, check myself out. And I looked at all my numbers and I've never been insulin resistant, you know, but being on the spiral that I was on, I imagine it wouldn't be too much longer before I would be that way, because I was obese. I was 230 pounds. And felt terrible. So I'm sure that was something that was going to be in my future sooner or later if I had not changed things. Um, but we do, I think it's kind of things we do. Like we'll give people insulin at night, their insulin, and like, here, have some carbohydrates with it. Why are we doing that? I never questioned that before. It's like, why are we giving diabetics crackers and cookies and sandwiches and giving them insulin? I don't know. It's like, it's,
Yeah, it's like saying to someone with a peanut allergy, "Here, have these peanuts. Now use this EpiPen." Okay, we're all good now.
yeah, I just, that's one little thing that I've actually noticed. Like, why do we do that? They're like, so their glucose won't drop. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe if we don't give them all the carbs to begin with, we wouldn't have to use the insulin and then it would be okay. But here we are, you know. Um, I don't know, did you want me to go through some of the other things that have resolved for me? Okay. I have to put my readers on because, I'm 50 now and that happens. So I used to have some really bad dandruff. That cleared up. Like I said, my seasonal, which I thought were seasonal allergies, but were really triggered by the food I was eating, that's all gone. So I'm no more, I take no prescription medications right now. Um, my abdominal issues have resolved. I have no more cramping, no more pain, unless it's something that I've tried, like I had the fresh cucumber out the garden and it caused some abdominal upset. So let me doing that again. And it usually takes me about a week to get back straight after I have notice I have a sensitivity to something. It'll take me a week. So I don't put something else in my system for a couple weeks. The joint pain's gone. I was having issues with acne again. That's gone. I might occasionally get a little spot here and there, maybe once a month, maybe, but it's nothing like cystic acne or anything. The joint pain's gone. My fingernails are better. Oh yeah, here's a big one. So women my age usually start to have these menopausal symptoms. I have no more hot flashes. Those are gone. I used to suffer at night with hot flashes and it was terrible. And I don't have that anymore. It's not a big deal anymore. I was having scalp itching, that's gone. I've lost 70 pounds. My cellulite is now decreasing. So I've noticed the pounds are not shifting anymore, but I guess my body composition is changing. I'm noticing less cellulite on my thighs and stuff. I've lost over 50 inches off of my body. Okay, a weird thing. I used to sunburn all the time. I'm very fair, and I would go out. I have to put sunscreen on. I would burn and turn back white. I was like, I just have to face it. I'm just pale. I'm a vampire. That's just what I got to deal with. I don't do that anymore. Um, and I actually tan now. It's weird. So I have a little base tan and I don't have to put sunscreen on my arms. I go outside all day long in the middle of the heat in Louisiana in the sun and my arms don't get burned anymore. Weird. And I know I've heard other people talk about that, but that's a strange one. So then the cholesterol stuff got better. Oh, I also had one of the calcium coronary artery scans done, and that was 0. So I have no hardening of my arteries in my heart. Another thing that they had found incidentally on a CT scan a couple years ago was that I had the beginnings of a fatty liver, and that my spleen was on the larger side of normal. That's all gone. My liver's fine. My spleen is a regular normal size. And then I also had a congenital hemangioma in my liver. That's like a little tangle of arteries. It was just sitting on top of my liver. They said I probably had that from birth. It's not there. I don't know where it went. I don't know if maybe it just wasn't seen on the ultrasound, but I know they can grow in relation, what I've been told, in relation to hormones, but on my ultrasound, it's not there. So I'm like, okay, well, maybe that happened. Um, Also, I have fibrocystic breast issues. Um, that is actually getting better. So when you do your monthly breast exams, I would find lots of lumps and hard knots in my breasts. And now the tissue itself is not like that. It's much softer. And I guess the really good thing is I'm extremely happy now. Seems like when I was more plant-based, I was angry a lot. I know that seems kind of strange, but I mean, my husband said if I was a puppy and had a tail, it would be wagging all the time when I'm cooking my ribeyes, because it's just eating meat makes me happy. It's just you're in this constant state of, I guess your mood is lightened, and that brings me to I have actually tried the sardine fast before to get into a higher state of ketosis. I noticed whenever I've done that a few times, whenever I've done that, it really chills you out. Now, I do have ADHD. Okay. It's better now that I eat this way. And I notice when I do the little sardines in 48 hours, I am just as chill as can get. And so I know that a higher state of ketosis does help for your brain chemistry because I can feel it. I mean, I know the difference. So that's very helpful to someone, I guess, if they would have anxiety or hyperactive tendencies.
So is this it for you? Is this the future?
I think I'm going to eat this way. I find that it's easier. I'm more satiated. I feel better. I can't see eating a lot of the plants and stuff if they're going to make me feel bad. You know, it might be like I might have some green beans. You know, every now and then if it's or a handful of berries or something. Um, like I said, think I'm going to be a strict. I don't think I'm going to be a strict carnivore. So I probably do need to drop the dairy, but I stopped eating grocery store milk. I guess the pasteurized, homogenized. I noticed once I cleaned all this other stuff out of my body, I was still doing dairy because, of course, you hear, oh, it's an animal product. You can have heavy whipping cream. You can have some cheese. You can have milk. That actually was causing some GI upset for me, but raw milk does not. Okay, so it was illegal to buy raw milk here in my state. So you technically just kind of have to get it from somewhere. Now I do have goats. I raise some animals too. So I have drank raw goat milk, but my belly doesn't mess up with the raw stuff. I think when we change it and homogenize it and pasteurize it, it's not the same thing. So I don't have the belly upset with it. The only thing it's doing is it's making me have a few more carbs a day. So I would like to get rid of the dairy. I would like to get rid of my coffee. Um, so those are my two goals for the next few months to try to work on that. But I do see myself being a meat-based person from now on.
So if a friend came to you and said, "Look, Tammy, I want to give this a go. You've done so well with it. Please give
Mhm.
me some advice. What should I do?"
When I do talk to people about it, I tell them, well, it like me, it was either I jumped all in or you do it gradually. And I always suggest that they do their own research because I can't suggest, medical thing. I consider diet kind of like a medical suggestion. Um, but I tell them to do their research. I go ahead and give them links to different YouTube channels like yours. I really enjoy listening to your show because honestly, it's kind of like I don't know if you're with Weight Watchers, if you're familiar with that concept where you would go to meetings once a week. Your show is kind of like my meeting and it's every day. Like I'll listen to you while I'm drinking my coffee and it gives you inspiration. So a lot of people, some people need that. I need that. And then some people want to hear just your regular people's stories, like what happens to regular people. And then I also suggest that they watch some videos on how to get started with carnivore because I don't want to miss anything. I mean, I'm not professional carnivore, I don't think. But I mean, I've been doing it a year. But I think that they need to watch those things. So I do tell me that. I also tell them before they start anything is to take pictures of yourself, take measurements of yourself, make sure you get lab work done because it's not always about the scale. Um, it's about how you feel and kind of how my clothes fit. I'm not necessarily focused on the weight. It's more how I feel and my measurements and stuff more than weight because weight can fluctuate with whatever. You can build muscle and get heavier.
So, how would you address the criticism of carnivore that it's too restrictive?
I don't find that it is. It's you would think that it is, but until you do it, um, I find that you do have variety. Like I'm saying, like for breakfast, you can choose any of the meats, any of the seafood, eggs, any kind of egg, duck egg, goose egg, chicken eggs, quail eggs, the bacon, pork belly, beef bacon. If you, I don't really necessarily like the organ meats, but you do have such a wide variety. It actually is a variety. So, but instead of having all the different vegetables and side dishes, it's like, okay, which meats do I want? So I do. You can pick, but then you start to realize you have your favorites. So we could eat beef every day and not get bored with it because it's filling and it's like I'm giving my body what it wants, instead of playing guesswork and you're feeding it all of these different things because you are hungry and your body wants the nutrients. But I feel like a lot of times we're eating the wrong stuff.
That's actually a good point. This really is the way we've handled nutrition for humans has been guesswork, really, right? Because it's like that's where balance comes from. When they say, "Oh, it's all in balance," that's basically them saying, "Well, we don't really know, but just have something of everything, and then you'll be okay."
Right. But I find that we should, I mean, just whether you're, it's like, don't eat out of a box because things that are packaged in boxes, anything in the middle of the store, if you can't pronounce it, don't eat it. That's kind of, my thing lately. Now I'm by no means an angel because sometimes I've slipped up in the beginning and everything, like everybody does. Don't beat yourself up over it. You start over the next morning. I mean, don't give up. But if you stay away from the packaged stuff is not food. That to me, that's fake food. If you stick to the outsides of the grocery store where your meat, your dairy, your eggs, and you do have fruits and vegetables there, if you just clean up all that stuff, you're gonna feel better. And then you just start dropping the carbs. So, my suggestion with people to get started is to get rid of all the processed stuff first. Just drink water. Um, and then you start dropping the other things gradually if that's what you have to do.
Yeah, that's good advice. If it comes in a box or it has a marketing campaign, it's probably
Mm.
not food.
What is this, styrofoam? I'm like, why is this in there? I mean, it just
Mm.
amazes me. And then things that they manufacture here in the United States, when they export it out, they're not allowed to put certain things in it. Like a lot of the food colorings and dyes and a lot of the preservatives. I'm like, well, if you can manufacture it for export that way, then why can't you leave it here that way? That's a big question I've had before too.
Yeah, I noticed Sean Baker posted something about this the other day on Twitter, and it was like, or on YouTube maybe, and it was like comparisons of if you buy this product in the US or you buy the
Mhm.
same product in the UK or in Europe, it's the ingredients like it's half the size of the ingredients list in the US.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very alarming. And just doing with my husband with his cancer, and you start to research your food supply, you get very frustrated. Like, why are we feeding this, especially to our kids, our children? I mean, I grew up on red jello and Pop Tarts and TV dinners and fish sticks, I mean, I'm a generation X, we didn't have the world's best diets back then, but our parents were only doing what they knew how to do, you know. But it is a wonder that they let all of this stuff be fed to everybody. Just I don't know, it just makes you wonder what the goal is.
Tammy, how can people reach out to you? Do you have any social media?
I do. I do have a Facebook group. It's called Mama Earth Dirt. Uh, it's kind of a name I acquired when I was working at another hospital years ago. When I was going through my juicing phase, they would call me Mama Earth Dirt. And just because I do a lot of the gardening, so it does have a gardening focus. And I haven't been so forward on my Facebook with my carnivore diet, but I'm starting to now, because now I guess now I have proof in myself and for myself that this works for me, and then I feel better about let the world know. that this is, hey, this is what I'm doing. And it's okay to go against the grain. But that's my Facebook. And also I have an Instagram. It's also Mama Earth Dirt also. And then I have an email. It's Gerard's wife at Yahoo.
So
Mhm.
I'll link to all those below.
Yeah.
Tammy, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story. I really appreciate your time.
Well, thank you for having me.